Very good evening and welcome to the 180th episode of Gyan Pravah, the podcast Fogsi Presidential Initiative of our Dr. Sunita Tandulwadkar Madam, wherein every day at 8 o'clock, one of the chairpersons of 30 chairpersons comes live to interview or to have a conversation or a dialogue with the eminent people who are working in the sphere of not just women's health, but women's empowerment, women's safety, and so many other areas, even spiritual fields. So this is 180th episode and 180th day. And Dr. Sunita Madam joins every episode wherever she is. And today it is my huge privilege and honor. And I'm so glad that none other than Professor Ann Kihara Madam has accepted to be our guest today. You know how busy and how difficult it is to get her precious time. At this point, I would like to thank Dr. Shanta Madam also, who is the Treasurer FIGO and past President Fogsi, for making this happen now. So before we go into the real podcast, let me give 2 words of introduction of Dr. Sunita Tandulwadkar Madam.
He knows me, you know me.
Only one thing that I wanted to say is we are 6 months into the tenure of Madam as President, and a lot of work is happening. Publications, conferences, campaigns, agendas, declarations, and everything. I think she's going full speed, and we are also happy to be part of this journey along with Madam. So coming to our Professor Ann, it is like showing a candle to the sun, the way if I try to introduce Madam. But because the delegates are there from OB-GYNs and also non-medical people, and a lot of civic society people join our podcast, let me have the pleasure of introducing Madam. Madam is president of our global organization FIGO. Madam is from Kenya. She has been the president of Kenyan Obstetrics and Gynec Society. She is the president of the African Obstetrics and Gynec Society. She is a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi with 30 years of experience as a teacher, mentor, clinician, academician, guiding students. Looking over, supervising their examinations, research papers. She has had a lot of publications, editing books and chapters. But more important than that, she is, how important is it, how she is the global leader, considering all the issues of women's health and safety. Madam, in Kenya, Madam had provided technical assistance to the Presidential Roundtable and Beyond Zero initiative, which is like zero maternal mortality. And Madam is engaged with HED6 partners, global partners like UNFPA, World Bank, USAID, UNICEF, WHO, UN Women, and Minister of Health. And she has contributed to the Kenyan Constitution in matters related to sexual reproductive health rights like Sexual Offences Act, the Health and Reproductive Bill, reduction of maternal mortality from unsafe abortion, gender policy, and strategies to reduce harmful cultural practices like gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, teenage pregnancy, and ART from 2010 to date. So this is where Madam emerges as the leader, and this is where she is our inspiration and role model. And Madam has been the chairperson of a FIGO committee for pregnancy and medical disorders. And since 2023, she's our president FIGO. And she's very dear to India and to all of us. Ma'am, once again, a hearty welcome to you. And thank you for joining.
Namaste. I'm happy to be here. Even to see Dr. Sunita, we met when she was inaugurated. So I'm really excited to be with her this afternoon.
Ma'am, thank you. Sunita ma'am, a few words from you.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you for coming on a Foxy platform yet another time on this podcast today. I'm sure today's podcast will be one of the best podcasts. Kiran Mai, the way she speaks with the poise, with the gesture, I just love it. And she's one of the most sincere committee chairperson I have. Most importantly is dependability. You give some work and you tell her that in this speculative time, I need that work, you have to just forget because she will definitely do. These are the chairperson who help you to take your agenda, to take your position or the work to the masses. Alone president cannot do anything. Everyone is cherishing. On 9 July, we completed 6 years. Every program is running so beautifully. Also, you must have received Annie my 6 months report. I did send to you. And this is all possible because of my huge team of vice president, committee chairperson. But I have taken around 200 to 300 leaders of Fogsi, who may be past vice president, who may be future vice president. They all joined in mine. My Eagle project, 250 endoscopic surgeons are traveling to various colleges, and in one day they are demonstrating the surgeries. No one can learn in one day, but the residents can see that the hysterectomy can be done in this way. So after their post-graduation, they can go to whichever center is nearby to them, or they feel like connected, and they can become a master of endoscopy. So that's an Eagle project, and we are celebrating next week 100th Eagle project.
Wow.
It means in
Fantastic.
99 colleges, in these 6 months, we have finished. It's a one-day project from morning to evening, around 8 to 10 surgeries. We don't show complicated surgery because we don't want them to carry the image, oh my God, this is not possible. So we don't take level 4 endometriosis or large fibroids. We take small fibroids, small uteri, and ovarian cysts, and tubal pathologies, hysteroscopic surgeries. And we show them hysteroscopy is just extension of your transvaginal sonography. So, and they can do also the office hysteroscopy under our supervision immediately. That just fascinates them. And today, when I'm talking to you, last week, we had our postgraduate exam, and in one gynecology, one entire session was on endoscopy. How to do the port placement, how to do if there is a submucous fibroid or submucous polyp, how do we take out 50 marks question paper? And they were so thrilled because they got to expose themselves. Though we could do only 99, our aim is to cover up 300 colleges. And that's because I have a very dedicated chairperson on that committee. So it's very important that you have, these are our future leaders of Fogsi. They will be chairperson, then they will become a vice president, then they will become a president. So it's very important to show them the direction. And this podcast series have come out like anything. In this podcast series, every day at 8 p.m., it's every day I feel today was the best podcast we have. And believe me, I did this only for my chairperson, but meeting 170 personalities from academic or non-academic or non-gynecological field, politicians, spiritual leader, inspirational leader, yoga, every field, the film actresses they have taken, the central ministry they have taken. So I think I evolved as a person meeting so many personalities.
Well done. In fact, it's part of our wellness, you know, getting a holistic approach to life and going beyond what I call our health boundary, because I also feel very strongly we have concentrated so much on academia. We've forgotten there's everything else about Sunita, everything else about
I agree with you, Annie. And that's the reason there is complete no for webinars.
Exactly.
5 years only webinar, every chairperson 3 webinars in a day. No one attends, no one logs in, and they take so much of efforts. So first thing is no chairperson is allowed to do any webinars. They should do podcast, and they are doing so many other activities. Physical CM they are doing, they are writing books, they are writing publication, they are writing the guidelines. So that's good enough.
Oh, wow. Well done. Well done. Keep going.
Thank you.
I'm only excited that this is a podcast where we're talking gender and specifically addressing women. And we have 3 powerful women. So we've got to really sound out and be the voice and agents, getting more women onboarded.
I know, I know.
Yeah,
So looking
excellent.
forward to see you in Cape Town.
Welcome.
And a happy podcast, Kiran Mayu, and I'm sure we will enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, once again, thank you, ma'am. So again, coming back to what you have said in the beginning, before we started the podcast, that we have been speaking specifically about women's health or only about violence, and it is much more than that.
Yeah.
So FIGO is a global organization for, obstetrics and gynecologists federation, and here we are talking about gender equality. And of course, we are the advocates for women's health. How do these both impact each other? Because basically we are for women's health and we are talking about gender equality, and FIGO has 139 countries and 21 committees focusing on so many aspects. As President FIGO.
Yes. Thank you so much. First and foremost, I really appreciate being called for this podcast. And more importantly, to be talking about a topic that's very dear to my heart. And I will start really with the clarion call that FIGO has, the global voice of women, the global voice. So we sit in the gap. We have all manner of women, young girls who are in just newly born, young girls in early childhood, young girls in adolescenthood, young girls who are in their reproductive age. And of course, as we move towards our twilight years, then you have the aging woman. What am I basically trying to say? Have the global voice in a life course approach, in the continuum of care and in the continuum of challenges that women experience. I want to relate this very quickly to the Sustainable Development Goal 5. And there we have 5 or 6 issues that we can relate to. I'll start with ending discrimination and violence. We all know a lot of women do experience discrimination. I come from an equally LMIC setting or low middle income setting. Education is not a priority. Dealing with your family members is a priority in a lot of our households. And girls are compromised from going to school to start doing basic chores like looking for fuel sources of energy, looking for water, looking for taking care of the young babies or the grandchildren that may be in the home. Those are discriminatory when it comes to why shouldn't that girl be given an opportunity to excel through education? As if that's not enough. In employment, you find that even the pay structure for girls vis-a-vis the young men is oftenly markedly less. I suffered that in my early career as a gynecologist. What I would do is operate on patients, and I couldn't understand why when I operate, I'm underpaid compared to my colleagues. And I remember raising my voice, and it costed me my job, because this is what we were really fighting, the discrimination, violence. And here, violations, I want us to think a little bit deeper. We have physical violence, we have sexual violence, we now even have technologically facilitated violence against women and girls. We have violence that is verbal. All of this giving psychosocial issues to women. But I also want to think of teenage pregnancy as a violation of a woman. She should be allowed to exude her highest potential and not becoming a mother too young, too often, too many. Violation from practices that are harmful, such as early marriages, payment of dowry, where you're actually treating a young girl as a commodity. Then honorable killings, which we're even beginning to see more and more in this day and age. Gender-based violence, intimate partner violence. These are just some examples of where we're being violated senselessly. The second thing is equal rights and opportunities. Do I have a right to education and opportunity in education? Do girls enter into primary school and get into high school and university opportunities similarly to the boy child or the young man? Healthcare, access and coverage. And here I don't even want to look at the urbanite. Look at urban informal settings. Look at rural populations. All of these are people who are not able to access. Sometimes it could be an issue of transport, or it could be an issue of having the decision-making power. Again, denuding her. Economic rights. We've already talked about it as employers. Resources, ability to own land, ability to own assets as women, political participation, and being part of the national governance system. I honestly believe a woman comes with many faces when she's actually entering into this field. Yes.
Ma'am, you have mentioned the main points of, areas of SDG 5.
Yeah.
Right from harmful practices to pay parity to the protective laws and all. And the statistics sometimes feel very dismal. Like the statistics say that it will take around 134 years to achieve gender equality is one very shocking. And the other one is to end the teen marriages, it will take 2092. That is the expectation, that is the prediction, ma'am. So, and also representation in the political arena, whether in parliament or legislature, it makes so much difference. When I see, I've worked as a principal or HOD, for example, in my department. So whenever you go out of your, safe zone into the general kind of representation, you find yourself very alone.
Yeah.
One is far less in number, and also your voice weakens, and there is nobody who gives that value to your voice because you are a woman. So coming to this political representation, we have reservations, for example, the gender quota in our country till panchayats, the municipalities and all. But at the highest level in the parliament, we are still not able to achieve the 50% reservation for women. There are so many hindrances. It is still lagging behind. So this representation in the political and in the hierarchy, in the higher places, will it be the solution, one of the solutions where women lead and women take decisions which can percolate down to the, lowest level of women in the villages that you are saying, ma'am? What do you feel regarding this political representation?
I certainly believe leadership by women achieves results. And I want to actually take you back to the most basic institution at household level. Yes, we belong to patriarchal norms, but who makes decisions about what is eaten in that home, what people wear in that home, what is going to be cooked that evening? Those are critical decisions. Who takes care of the nurturing of babies within one's home? Who does? It's a mama. Number 2 or number 3 is the issue around having us believe in ourselves. I think really that is the beginning for change for women. Women believing that they too can lead. Number 3 is the civic education. Women must be able to recognize the voice and agency they brings a different dimension even into the legislative space. The other issue is having women come together. We're very good at coming together when we're probably talking about the wedding of your child or at a burial ceremony. But how many women actually come together to talk about empowering ourselves and carrying that into the next generation? The most important is, this is not even about belief. You are a gynecologist and so am I. We have been given the skill to bring forth life in any nation. Human capital for any nation. How much more should we believe in ourselves that we can do it? It is possible, and not believe in the 30%. And then you're in leadership, so am I. And I was asking you even before this show, Why aren't we as professional leaders rallying together to bring up the younger generation and to also speak to communities? Because I believe I've seen FGM'd women and what it's done to them. I've seen women lose pregnancies and what it means to that household. I've seen teenage mothers and had to nurse them even with pregnancy complications. We as women know where our shoe bites. But can we step out of just being that gynecologist and speak out? I think we really need to get our voice out there.
Exactly. This was one of the last things that I wanted to ask your advice, and you have really put so much importance to this. What is your advice to OB-GYN practitioners regarding how we need to look beyond our clinical practice and homes and work hand in hand as colleagues to achieve these goals? As you said, we are the point of care. We are the leaders, and we don't need more than that. So it's very inspiring, Madam.
I want to give you the pillars I believe the gynecologist must take on. And I will start at the top. Legislature. You have human rights. Health is a human right. Everybody must have equal opportunity for health. Number two, the Beijing call of action really was the turning point. But again, look at ICPD. The population, demographics, and development. You cannot talk about population development if you're not zero rating maternal and neonatal mortality. I've told you they're responsible for human capital. Addressing unmet need for family planning. So I get the number of babies that I want, and I'm able to nurture them appropriately. And even the spacing between your babies. So unmet need of family planning, that really is a prerogative. And then zero rating harmful cultural practices. As long as we're not addressing social and gender norms, there will always be a problem. We must. Now, India's doing perfectly in order. I went and I looked at your acts, and you have women protecting women from domestic violence, prohibiting of child marriages, way back 2005, 2006. Why is it still happening? Sexual harassment at the workplace, 2013.
The POSH Act, the POXO Act.
Maternal Benefit Act.
Yes.
Maternal Benefit Act. National policies for women. Ministry of Women and Child Development specifically. Why was it created? Women Reservation Bills 2023. What is it telling me? Way back from 2005, you recognize we need the legislative piece. My issue then becomes, how does the gynecologist make it work? Implementation or retrogression. I'll tell you going forward how we can deal with that. The next is to look at the policies moving on into guidelines, guidelines getting their space into our curriculum. As Fogsi, are we teaching on gender-related issues? Gender for leadership, gender in health, gender for entrepreneurship, gender in relation to violence, physical and sexual violence being at the top. So where is our curriculum? Gender, even when we begin to think a little bit deeper in humanitarian crisis, where the woman is even double jeopardized by the fact she's in conflict or war, or is a refugee or a migrant population. Women and climate change. Now I'm giving you concepts that are coming up. The woman in the home deals with food security and nutrition. The woman in the home can give you cooking with clean energy or unclean fossil fuel energy. Who will change that practice? The woman in the home can deal with making the homestead have clean air just by opening a window. But is this really happening? Is my rural village woman being educated? And this is really where I feel we must, as the gynecologists, be responsible. The other
You must
thing,
step up.
yes,
You must step out of your conventional
norms. Yeah, and the fact that now we're moving to primary health coverage, it means we want to start looking at health promotion, disease prevention. Not wait until you come when you're sick, you're running to us. We can't afford to take care. Our health system and the sheer numbers we're dealing with is pushing us now to be more akin to global public health. The third thing, community education, education, education. And I'm not looking at formal education. Without health literacy, and getting it for them in a language of understanding, we will not go far. The other thing is our role as women in research. Researching on women. Let's be honest. Cardiovascular disease, the medicines were brought up. They were on researches from men patients. Where is the research agenda on women? Our continuum of care, as I spoke to earlier on, the life course approach for women, we are having exposures very different from men. I want to even believe our biology is very different from men. And it's only now we're beginning to get that awakening. We must have research on women. And COVID really told us this. We started giving the injection to pregnant women and lactating women. Before that, it never used to happen. It was unthinkable. But that's the awakening I think we needed. The other thing is women leading research. I talked about us. We know what bites us. We know. But how many of us are active researchers? Publishing, speaking and disseminating, talking out there. So we cannot convert women if we are not part of that conversation. And this then brings me to monitoring. We've got to start looking at even our routine data differently. Disaggregated by age, disaggregated by gender, disaggregated by social determinants. What my grandmother was exposed to and what I'm exposed to is very different. Likewise to you. My race or my ethnicity or my caste or the fact I'm in a rural population or my religion, they all have influences on your outcomes, your lifestyle. But remember always, always, and I really want this to be given across to everybody listening to us, women are responsible for giving birth to the next generation. We must protect the primary woman today, her future, and that of the next generation, because it has implications for the Indian or for the African population into the future. So keep her unhealthy. Don't expect a healthy product. Keep her healthy, happy, well-rounded with the wellness we talked about, then definitely it will go into the next generation. I'll stop there because I can continue going on and on.
What you have spoken about this diverse population of women, this is what the intersectional approach is all about. I mean, all women are not same, not just gender, but by means of wealth, class, or region, race, and everything. First of all, as you have mentioned, we have highlighted the research on women as such is lacking. So we should be leading there, and we should be looking beyond our conventional roles as clinicians. We should be the voice, not stop talking about, and in the language, in the literacy that the women and men and the civic society understands. Fogsi, as you know, also has formed this committee for no to violence against women, which is started in 2020. So we've been doing a lot of awareness, not just on violence, but as you have mentioned, going beyond, the violence and all the aspects. And of course, FIGO has so many committees. Ma'am, I have come across this Maputo protocol while I was reading about you and the African organization. What is this basically the protocol, ma'am? The Maputo, am I pronouncing it right? Maputo protocol.
Which one?
Maputo.
Maputo, yes.
Maputo.
Maputo protocol and plan of yeah.
Huh.
It is fantastic. It actually gives a holistic approach to women, particularly in their reproductive career, addressing unsafe abortion, addressing contraception, addressing the rights of women. And to be honest, our primary role for the longest has been women as reproductive entities. But we're now expanding that. And thank God we have even the Sustainable Development Goals that then gives us a holistic pattern. We're addressing poverty as women. We're addressing hunger. We're addressing good health. The Maputo Protocol specifically was trying to give that awakening in your reproductive years. What should we then give you access to? But we now know, even with the climate change and with the issue of empowerment, at the end of the day, stop violating the woman, give her opportunities, empower her. I liked even reading from your Indian background, you know, what are the strategies you have? And one thing that struck me is how much you have in terms of empowerment. I'll mention a few. Lok Sabha, which deals with the state assemblies, local governance in rural communities, Panchayati Raj, if I'm correct. Then you have Drone Didi, Subhadra, Betty Papo, Betty Pado. These are things you have, which even look at sex ratios and awareness and even creating rights in health. So similarly,
we have one-stop crisis centers which have like everything in place. I mean, the police, the doctor, the lawyer, the counselor, the psychiatrist, and the helpline number of 100. And we have a Sakhi center, which we call. Now every town district has a Sakhi center, which is collaborating with the local hospital, whether it's a teen marriage or a teen pregnancy or domestic violence or sexual assault. That has come in a lot. We do have the internal complaints committee and the POSH, that is sexual harassment at workplace, but still they have to be really effective and
implementation,
with lot of time and again educating ourselves. Many people do not know that we have to establish the POSH committees, internal complaints committees, wherever there are more than 10 people employees, and employees themselves do not know what is this POSH committee. The percolation and knowing about the law and the awareness, that is lacking a lot. But still, on paper, we have very, very wonderful laws and acts in the government.
So one other thing I want to bring up, one other thing I want to bring up is you are in a digital age. And you have a lot of digital technology, and particularly in India, and particularly where I am today, which is in Hyderabad. It's a tech city. But it brings me to wonder, okay, we are in a technologically sound city. How much of those mobile phones are being used to give health literacy, particularly to the girl child? How much of this technology is being transferred in early formative years for girls to engage in STEM? How much of school programming are we doing to convert from social and gender norms that are harmful to safe? And I know your DIRA program is doing that. Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the other thing is, how do you engage with maternal health? Through the digital technology. Again, I read on Lakshya. Is it called Lakshya?
Yes, ma'am.
Lakshya. Sanjivani. Yes. Then there is also something like Poshan Tracker. These are things that I saw in the Indian setup that are very, very good in terms of giving the women knowledge and health-seeking behavior. Because I think really those two go together. and even empowering her. And we all know, when you have empowered one woman, you've empowered a nation. Yes. Because the woman will deal with her household. I told you, she is the primary leader in a home. So how much more should we value her to get to the top? We must, we can't sit back. The last one is now using our data. And I'm not even asking you to create data. We have surveys that we routinely do in our nations using the demographic health information system within your health system. We have also these cluster surveys that are commonly done, but we are now beginning to agitate. We must have specific gender data outlooks or observatories, which I believe, whether we're looking at how many people committed crime within the police station, of those who were affected, was it mainly women who were assaulted, or was it the young boys who were assaulted? When you go to drug use and drug abuse, what is the gender distribution there? When you go to different agriculture, what is the distribution of funding going to the different genders? And what are the outcomes in terms of productivity and yields, and then the market dynamics? Who is gaining more? And if not, why is it that the girl or the woman is being compromised? When it comes to giving funds, and even in our research field, grants, the gender sensitization, I think that awakening must continue, must. And Fogsi.
That brings us to, yes, that brings us to the, yeah.
Yes.
Regarding the budgets that are being allocated to the gender issues, right from global stage to individual countries, there seems to be huge deficiency or gap that the SDG goal mentioned.
Yes.
Here also we have lot of, I have read that in India it is 4.9% of the total government expenditure which is spent towards gender tag. But most of our budget is towards schemes like incentives for cash incentives for birth in an institution, for example, or getting married above 18. There is something called Shadi Mubarak or Kalyan Lakshmi, where the bride is given money. Such are the schemes, but the budget is not being spent on systemic reforms, or maybe a school curriculum, or gender sensitization, or sensitizing the village, the ecosystem and all. That has been the criticism, of late. So most of the budget, whatever is allocated, goes towards incentivizing or such schemes, but not into the systemic reform. So, ma'am, the role of budget towards gender-related issues, what do you feel it should increase, or how it should be spent on what?
I will not even start by ad hocly increasing it. Where is the data? And what is the data telling us?
Yes.
That's the first step. If you can show to a politician, this is the outcome when you don't focus on the woman or the girl child in terms of her health, in terms of lack of finances, in terms of lack of education, they will not plug their money. Because I'm sitting now as a policymaker or as a politician, I will ask one pertinent question. What is the return on my investment with the girl child or with women? But show me the data. Let the data speak. So again, I'll come back to Fogsi. Where is your voice? Are you at that table or not? That is the most important. Produce your evidence, but articulate it in a language of understanding. The language to a colleague is very different from what I have to speak when I'm speaking to a politician. And to the common man, it's even more different. So it must resonate with them. Then number two is, even when they do give you the funding and say, okay, we're going to put our money here, ring fence it so that it cannot be given to any other operative or any other function. When you ring fence it, it means it's going for only that purpose.
With that purpose.
But giving you money is one thing. Accountability should come back, because that's what will inform your advocacy subsequently. That's what's going to inform the right practices or evidence-based practices. And that's what's even going to inform your policy reform. So even these legislative pieces and policies that we have articulated in this show, you have to constantly review, reformulate, reanalyze based on evidence. So I would say that's where our problems lie.
The way you have answered this aspect is mind-boggling, actually. What you said makes so much sense. So that comes to, again, the gender snapshot report, wherein the evidence, where the countries which have made laws against violence against women, like made it a priority and agenda, where the VAW has come down, compared to countries where the laws are not there. So this is a very clear-cut evidence. And we also had one study in India, wherein if a woman or a girl is educated to +2, 10 +2, I mean intermediate, there the maternal and infant mortality is less.
Yes.
The women's girls' education is directly related to reduced mortality of the child and as well as the mother. So this is the type of research, the type of inputs that we need to produce, so that, you know, where the budget, how much and where it should go, and the accountability also that we have really
I agree with you. I agree with you, because social determinants, we're not talking about it as much as we should. But one thing is very clear. An educated woman is able to relay messages much better than one who has illiteracy. Wealth can only come from health. If you're unhealthy, I'm sorry, you may not be able to be productive. Likewise, if you're a woman who has one too many children, we are saying reduce the number of children you have and let's look at quality of the children. Again, falling back to my human capital. We need healthy people for tomorrow's generation. And this even brings in the point that we have a very youthful nation, very youthful, in India, in Africa, in Latin America. How are we making sure that they will even get the babies they want at the right timing to be able to take care of that baby's growth and interest as the next generation? So as we even looking at gender, as we're looking at gender, we also need to look at the age cohort very critically and see specific entry points of interventions that are needed for the different age groups. My grandmother must still be kept healthy. Half of them are in the rural village, but people are moving from town and taking children to them to take care of them. But does she have earning power? What are you doing for her? I'm a woman of reproductive age. I'm taking my maternity leave. Is it paid or unpaid? Another issue, even with gender equality. Unpaid care. Nurturing children has been for the longest unpaid care. So what are we doing to make it have equipoise? Because I think that's the most revered assignment any woman has been given. Then how do you deal with the young adolescent mother or the teenage mother and reintegrate her back to school so that she doesn't lose out on that opportunity and end up with a teenager with a baby with a baby, and abject poverty? So we've got to look at entry points, and strategically, what do you do for each entry point? But I strongly feel early childhood development should really be where we begin this conversation. So that they grow up knowing we're equitable. I will tell you this, I was born as a twin with a twin brother. And I think right from my formative years, what you can do, I can also do, if not do it better. Yeah. So that's what I wish every girl to be able to say. Yeah. What
Yes.
you can do, I can do, if not do it better. Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there is so much hope. There is so
Yeah.
much faith
Yes.
that future is going to be.
Yes. But I must say that we have to accelerate. We have to accelerate. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I think it's me who lost. Thank you
Yes.
so much, ma'am, for giving your really, really valuable and precious time
Yes.
to us, to Foxy, and to me particularly. It really means a lot, and I really got inspired again regarding the role that we have to play. And
Thank
really
you.
looking forward.
My prayer
Thank
is
you
that
so much.
my prayer is everybody should move out of their comfort zones as ladies
Comfort
and
zone.
push
Agree.
that we must
Push.
be active participants, accelerating gender equity and equality.
I
Thank
think
you
that
so
is
much.
the final message I would be taking out. Push out of your comfort zone,
Yes.
grow and grow beyond your comfort. It has been a great pleasure.